Gobdal, and I'm reading an essay on behalf of a very important writer from Pakistan who could not be here today. And her essay is about the importance of universal love and religious freedom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here on behalf of a very brave 13-year-old young lady, HM, who could not be here today for the very reasons she speaks of in her essay. Her family and well-wishers believe her safety in Pakistan would be at risk if she were to openly take credit for her work. I share both a cultural and faith-based connection with her, and I'm honored to represent her work here today before you all. Before I begin, I'd just like to make a small introduction. I'm of Pakistani-American descent and have visited Pakistan a number of times. Currently, I work in a dynamic role as a project manager for Weavers Associates, an independent healthcare consulting company in which I do grant writing, research, and project management. My interests and skills have always been directed towards working and contributing towards a better society. For instance, by helping to provide essential resources to individuals in impoverished communities and at risk situations. Collectively, each individual can make an empowering difference, and this is why we are all here today. The principles of religious freedom, tolerance, and love for all humanity. Sometimes a thought emerges in my mind. How do we humans define love, affection, and care for others in our lives? Is love just about loving your family, friends, and yourself? Or is it about loving everyone in your life because everyone matters? Time and time again, generations have been depicted full of hatred and dislike. Do we even care to ask ourselves if we should love everyone and not just those who are most like us? Honestly speaking, we do not ask this because it is hard to imagine love for humanity. Yet that is what we need, real love for our fellow humans, because every life does matter. I had this friend who was also Shia. Shias belong to the denomination of Islam with the belief that the Islamic prophet's proper successor as Caliph was his son-in-law. Despite religious differences, the two of us were very close to each other and would share everything. We were always in our own world. That changed when a relative of mine came to the house one day. At that moment, we were watching a movie together, and my relative asked At that moment, we were watching a movie together, and my relative started asking my friend questions. When my relative came to know that she was Shia, chaos burst out immediately. My relative started uttering swear words to my friend, and she went home crying. It was never the same after that. I was appalled and drenched in anger. What kind of justice is this? Can't a person have the right to follow whatever religion they think is right? Just because they believe something differently, does that make them less than fully human? Does that relinquish their rights, their very freedom, even their right to life itself? Just because of this, should their life be turned into a living hell? This is completely absurd. The choice of a religious path depends on that person, his or herself alone. No other person should even force themselves upon them by fear and threat. Yet this is what we are seeing. In this society, it's almost as if freedom is never really given, because someone has a point of view on religion, and when they do, they refuse to tolerate the other person's point of view. They dismiss that point of view as useless, and the person following that religion is suddenly of no worth whatsoever, and thereby can be easily tortured or killed. Religion is somehow the distinguishing point between what makes the person a human with rights or reduced to an animal with no rights at all. We worship and devote ourselves to a specific God, to a path that we think is right. The religion we choose is up to us. However, our society has snatched that right from us. Society forces us to follow the one religious path that it thinks it is right. Society makes its rules and forces us to follow them. Freedom of religion and spirit is the essential source of hope in our time. The hour is getting late. Excuse me. Why can't we be tolerant and accepting of people's differing paths? In India, during the Mughal times, there was forceful conversion of Islamic girls to Christianity. Is this justice? Were the girls not right in their previous spiritual callings? Were they somehow subhuman? If they were weak in society, did this mean they couldn't be given their rights, their religious freedom, and the love they require from other humans? We, people of this generation, have a big duty. The duty is to create tolerance in religion. We need to go beyond tolerance to real affection, to love for others regardless of their religion. We have the duty to define principles of religious freedom. The generations before us have suffered a great deal, and we don't want to be like them. It's our duty to unite the world and make it a perfect place, a better place. So first, let's start with talking. we all have a lack of communication between us, which leads to misunderstandings and at worst, hatred. Don't be quick to believe all of the bad things that you hear about someone else's faith. If there is something troubling you or you want to clear it, then talk about it. It's the best solution. Go and talk to the person. Ask him or her everything you want to. Let them explain how they view God and neighbor. Clear all your doubts. Learn about them in depth and inquire about as many things as you want, and you'll soon realize that half of the things you thought you knew weren't even real. I want to share a class experiment we did in our school just to give an example. We invited one of the teachers in our classroom, whom we were all afraid of, to lunch with us. We divided our duties and came up with 3 groups. One group made the invitation card, the other brought the food, and another served it. All went well as we talked about the little things of life. Things went smoothly, and we soon realized that talking about everyday things like food points to our common humanness. Discuss and understand the things you have doubts on or the things you wish to clarify, but never forget to control your anger. It's one of the leading causes of aimless fighting and violence. My world is filled with terrible violence because people just don't connect with each other in the market or in the small things of life where friendships form. There have been lots of Muslims, Christians and Jews who have lived in the same towns and gotten along really well because they did the small daily things together. History has shown that there is always a way for peace. Threat and violence is not the right communication. Only talking can help. Let's connect with each other about the everyday world we share, increase tolerance, create affection and love between people, and renew our dedication to religious freedom. It is our duty to unite this world and make it a better place. Thank you for your time.